Yo, you dealing with the X Factor.
I got everything I ever wanted, and I'll never get that back. Oh, I know you hate that factor, but you ain't gotta look at me like that. I said you ain't gotta look at me like that.
What you looking at? What you looking at? What you looking at? What you looking at?
You ain't gotta look at me like that. I said you ain't gotta look at me like that.
What you looking at? What you looking at? What you looking at?
Then just roll.
All right, here we go, guys.
Welcome to another episode of That's Incredible with Just Incredible. I'm Jay Fox, along with Steve DeSheik here. We are back in the saddle again for another round of doing what we do best, and that is, talk shit. That's what we do. Justin, how's your day? How's your week been, man? What's been going on in the world of Just Incredible? Has it been incredible?
No, it's been a good week, man. Just doing the grind, brother. Doing the grind. Everything's good though.
Absolutely. What about you, Steve? What's going on in your world?
Man, it's been okay. No more ice. The ice is finally gone almost. We got some rain today. It was about 67 degrees, so I was able to go to work in shorts and a t-shirt. So didn't have to wear my coat today. That's for sure.
Nice. I had to go t-shirt and blue jeans on today. I mean, I had a hoodie on for the better part of the day. Justin, I'm sure you had a hoodie on earlier today, as you usually do.
Yeah, no, it's still pretty cold.
Well,
you're up north up there. You're up there where it like snows in July.
Yeah, it's pretty cold, man. Pretty cold over here, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm out here in the Midwest, where there's like nothing but corn and meth. That's about it out here. And Steve,
Hey, Justin, when's the last time you've been to Kentucky?
Oh God, probably 15 years.
Wow, that's where I live. So
yeah, it's been a long
that's
time.
insane.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Not much.
So,
last time me and Justin were together was Ohio. I did look that up.
Did you ever wrestle for OVW?
I did, yeah. Yep. 2002.
Wow.
2002.
You know what? I think I remember. Because I used to go every other week to the Davis Arena.
Yep.
Off Old Shep. That's where I got to see Brock, Randy, and I think I do remember seeing Justin there. Now it's coming back to me now.
I was there, and Sean Maltman and I were both there at the same time.
Wow.
Now, 02, you said 02. That was that great class that WWE had of Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, Orton, Batista, Cena. That class. Did you ever get to work with any of those guys?
I think all of them. Pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of insight. How was it like to be in the ring with these guys? I mean, which ones were the stiffest? Which ones were the hardest? Which ones were the ones that would legitimately kill you?
Nobody was stiff. They were all just really, really good young men. Understood the business. They had a good aptitude for it right off the bat. So no, they were all easy. I got to work with Randy a lot, and Randy was amazing. He was good in his earliest inception. So a lot of respect for Randy.
Right.
How about John Cena?
I didn't interact too much with John. I don't think we had crossed paths there. Somehow.
Now, the stories about Randy Orton, they say him and Mark Jindrak partied all the time, and they did all kinds of hijinks and things like that. And I remember an interview Triple H did where they looked at him and they said, looked at Flair and he said, "Did you and Harley do this on the road?" I mean, was Randy, when you guys did do, small little loops or anything like that, were they up to some hijinks, or was Randy really just kind of chill? Was that all kind of fabricated?
It certainly wasn't fabricated. He just didn't do any of that stuff. I never really traveled with him, so I never got to see any of it, thank God. But no, I didn't see any of it. But I'm pretty sure the stories are real.
Right. From what you know of Randy, I mean, young kid, but could you tell, working with Randy at that time, could you tell that he was going to become the legend that he is now? I mean, could you see looking at him being like, this is going to be how he is 20 years from now? Or what was your first take? Let's break it down. What was your first take of these guys when you seen them?
I mean, Randy's the one I have the most experience with. I mean, you could just tell, being that I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Right, and you guys down in OVW, when you're down there in OVW, you said this is around 2002 era right there. This is a post X Factor time frame there. This is the post X Factor split at that time, correct?
I guess. I mean, I know we weren't doing much of anything. We were both of us too old. But yeah, it was around that time.
Right. Now, I had thought of something earlier, and your career took a trajectory. We talked a little bit previous episode about you doing a little stint in WCW in the earlier part of your career. You bounced back to the WWF. I looked at something, and it occurred to me, and I have to ask the question. And it burns. It's inside of me. 1997, you end the Aldo Montoya run. You are wide open free agent. You are free to go. You got ECW, you got WCW, which at the time, the cruiserweight division is cooking. I mean, they're on fire. You are what you would consider a cruiserweight at the time. You would have fit right in with like the Billy Kidmans, the Conans, the Psychoses. You guys had matches with these guys. You've worked with these guys. Why didn't you, put a feeler out to go to WCW at that time when you left the WWF in late 97, rather as to go to ECW? What was the appeal for ECW compared to WCW?
I had actually reached out to Scott Hall when I was trying to get released as Aldo, because I actually went and had a meeting with Vince at the Titan Towers there in Stamford, and I had requested my release. I still had a year left on the contract, and because I wanted to go to WCW, and Vince wouldn't give me my release for whatever reasons. I think he just didn't want any one of his wrestlers showing up at WCW at that time, because a lot of people were going over or whatever. So he basically said, I invested some money, enough money into you as not necessarily the Aldo character, but me as a performer. I want to develop that. So he, instead of giving me my release, he sent me to Memphis for 6 weeks to learn to work as a heel, and apparently they were going to bring me back up to, when I was ready to debut, I guess, a new heel character. But in that run in Memphis, where we talked about it briefly, a little bit of the ECW had gone down. They were doing an angle with like Heyman, Sabu, Van Dam, some other guys, Dreamer, Sandman. They were doing an angle with Jerry Lawler, and Candido, who was your friend of mine, was down there, and he introduced me to Paul. Paul, got him and I got talking. He pitched me. It was good. I wasn't going to go to WCW anyway because I was still contractually with WWE. So he talked to Vince and got me, pretty much permission, even though I was with the WWE, to start with ECW. So technically, that WWE contract really never went away while I was in, ECW technically. So,
Were you still getting paid were you still getting the WWE check while you were there?
no, nope. But technically, that contract was never officially severed, and those contracts, read that they will just be rolled over. So neither myself nor the WWE actually, killed the contract. So technically, that contract is still to this day probably.
It's still pending.
No, it's obviously not because I resigned, but I think the whole thing was Paul over the contract for WWE. But you hear so much shit. I think WWE and ECW were one and the same at this point. So you know what I mean? so it wasn't that big of a deal.
It's kind of what's going on with TNA right now, with WWE working with TNA.
Yeah, something
Almost
like that.
almost similar, yeah, almost
Yeah,
similar.
I mean, probably even eh, less official because ECW there were really, even though Paul had contracts where they really,
Mhm.
I don't know, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting time, and but it was cool. Everything happened, I guess, the way it was supposed to happen. So, I'm grateful, dude, for sure. It was a good experience. I wouldn't
Now,
change it.
you go back to saying that Vince had plans on bringing you back as a heel character.
Yeah.
Can you shed any? Do you have any
Oh, I have
like?
no idea. I have no
You
idea. I
didn't
don't
just
think
in.
he had.
Was there any plans? Was there any like germ of any idea of what this was going to be? I mean, I think the Just Incredible character with the shorts and with the Got Blood shirt would have fit in the Attitude Era phenomenal.
He had no idea. I just think that was it never really. There was no development of it. After 6 weeks, I went right back. I couldn't do it anymore. I told them I wanted to go home. I just couldn't. I was underwater financially, and I was just like, I want to go to ECW. And Paul facilitated it. It was just as simple as that. I really never any plan for me to come back as a heel never really came in, or at least that I was never discussed.
I guess Paul seeing the true potential in Just Incredible and what he could be, and that heel character of what you had on the inside. That was truly you. That was the real you.
Really,
Is what we were seeing.
no, absolutely not.
That
So,
wasn't
so
the you turned up to 11 Just Incredible character, wasn't?
No, it was just me, just acting a fool, kind of being.
being yourself, maybe.
No, I'm not
No.
at all. That's not me. It's just me being a heel pro wrestler, or what I thought a heel pro wrestler should be.
Oh, okay.
Diabolical, and just had fun with it.
Yeah, it's
That,
always more fun
that
to be.
that explains why he didn't go to WWE or WCW, is because he was still under contract with WWE, even though he was in ECW. That's why that never got facilitated, basically. So now we know, because that was
Now
his.
that's it. Yep. 'Cause
That's
that's
what
a
you
question
were.
a lot of people have asked. We've had a lot of people ask that. A lot of people feedback, be like, "Why did he go to WCW when there was so much ship jumping back and forth?" With the NWO angle. I mean, it wouldn't have been out of place to see on a Nitro Just Incredible come out, wielding a kendo stick, and with the NWO, it wouldn't have been out of place to see. It
But he
wouldn't have
wasn't
been
that
at
guy
all.
yet.
Yeah, I wasn't that guy. Exactly. So,
He
but
Now,
wasn't.
would
He wasn't.
you?
like I said, everything happened the way it was supposed to. But it was. It's all good, man. I don't regret anything. So,
The infamous hot
you
tub
guys,
promo.
did you guys end up doing what you were supposed to do and watch Raw?
Oh yes, actually, we did. Did you actually watch it?
Of course not. I don't even have
I watched it at work today. At
I don't
work.
even have Netflix.
I did the whole skip forward thing. With the remote, the fast forward, the fast forward, the fast forward.
It
And,
wasn't that eventful.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It's right now. I think we'd be better off instead of looking at what's happening right now. Let's look at what we would do if we were in the hot seat right now. Who would we move the pieces around on the chessboard, and who would we take this opportunity? I mean, naturally, we knew we were going to get Roman against Punk. We knew that. But there's the wide open spot with McIntyre. Now, do you put Cody back in that spot because we've seen it? Do we put him back there and make him a 3-time world champion? Or is this the point where we bring a dark horse up? Is this the point where we use the chamber as the vehicle to pull out a surprise? And if we do, who is it? Justin, who do you consider first?
I don't know, man. I've never been very good at that kind of stuff. I mean, again, I hate to always come across like this, but I just don't see any excitement. It doesn't. And the reason I'm so quick to shut down a lot of things is because,
Mhm.
like, even I did look at some of the things that happened quickly, and I saw something about LA Knight. Even LA Knight doesn't. I mean, I know a lot of guys, a lot of fans like him and all that, but dude, it's like again, for some reason, he's been around for so long. Um, just does, and he to me, like, I don't know, it seems like he's doing a bunch of different gimmicks all rolled into one. There's nothing. I don't know, man. I think guys like
Yeah.
Braun Breaker, guys like Joe Hendry, um, a lot of other guys are the ones they just need to do. They need to get on a quick build of guys and do it right because again, like another dude that's getting a little steam with that angle, Austin Theory, dude. Does anybody care? I mean, it's just, and it's a shame to say, Seth Rollins. Does anybody care? And I'm not to say these guys are good. They're good. They're extremely good. I'm not just. I'm not saying that they're bad performers, but just sometimes overexposure. Sometimes maybe for me, I look at it in a different eye. It just does not excite me in any way, shape, or form. Yeah,
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I have a real hard time with that. I don't know why. You know,
I
um,
f-
if something needs to shake up. I think that the bullshit of having and this has plagued the WWE for a long time. Having people on two different rosters like SmackDown and Raw, I think that sucks. I think there should be one world title, there should be one intercontinental title, and maybe some other secondary small titles and one tag team. Just too much shit rolling around, dude. Nobody gives a fuck about anything, and it's just all there, like nothing. At least in my eyes, it wasn't as important as like the old title reign where you remember who won the Intercontinental title and how
Yep.
many times.
Mhm.
Nothing. I know times have changed and the presentation has changed, but people don't care because it's just not interesting. It's not. The business hasn't changed all that much. So I don't know. I just would like to see, and I don't think it's going to happen for WrestleMania. I think it's going to take another year, maybe next WrestleMania. I don't know. I think this one is almost like a paint by numbers. Again, I think WWE the only way we're going to see them turn up some shit is when business starts to go down. I think they're blowing way too comfortable, making way too much money. The boys are making way too much money. None of these people know what it's like to struggle, which is good and bad because bad in a way of you lose hunger. There were a lot of hungry wrestlers out there, both literally and figuratively, on the roster trying to get a leg up. And why fight so hard to move up on the roster or get over when you're making 350 to 500,000? Like
Now,
fuck
the
it,
pay scale was
I'll
different
just
back
go
then.
here and make 500 grand and not sweat it. I could do that for 5 years and not give a damn about where I am on the card. You know what I mean?
Right,
yeah, CM
right.
Punk said it best, the other
Yeah.
day. He said he was like, I'm getting paid the same whether I'm world champion or a jobber. So,
Yeah. So
which,
it really doesn't matter. My role in the movie doesn't have. I don't have to be the main of. I don't have to be the star of the picture. I just have to be in the movie. You know.
Exactly. And do you think guaranteed contracts, the first guaranteed contract actually was Mark Marrow, good friend of mine. Mark Marrow back in the early 96 was the first guaranteed contract. That was when you had the downside guarantees, as Jim Ross called it, and he broke those down. Do you feel like guaranteed contracts made the boys more complacent or more, what is it, lowered the work ethic, lowered, no, naturally lowered the morale, but lowered the work rate?
I don't know if it lowered the work rate. It certainly made people. It was. I think it's a double-edged sword. Look, I think it's great for the boys. I had a downside guarantee of $100,000 when I was an X Factor, and I made 250,000. So downsides were, I think, a good way to say, look, you're not going to be broke. You're always, you'll be taken care of. But the upside potential is sky's the limit. Like Vince always sold you on opportunity, and I think
Right.
that lack of motivation, some may attribute. I mean, I think, and you're less prone to giving a fuck. Not giving. I should take that back. Not that you don't give a fuck, but you're not as hungry. You're not scraping by because you're living comfortably. But when you
Right.
can't figure out how to pay your bills, and times are really lean, and you're fighting for roster spots because if your pay matters, I think that incentive makes people work a little, not even harder. I think everybody works hard, but work differently, if that makes any sense, and work with a little
There's
more,
there it's like
a
with
little, a
an
little fire
average
on
job.
the ass, you know.
Yeah, like with your
Yeah.
average, like yeah, the average Joe, he's going to start off entry level, but that management position, he's looking at like, man, that's where the money's at. That's where I'm going to, get some recognition. That's where I'm going to get, the nicer car, the nicer home. That's where I'm going to live better. Or do I want to be down here where I'm living paycheck to paycheck? But then you have all this money being thrown around for basically just appearing to show up and do your job. I mean, you're gonna be on cruise control almost, rather
Yeah,
than get out there.
I just think incentive-based contract for me, and it also, when you do, I mean, of course they don't have to worry about it, but back then, you know, um, it makes sense. You got paid upon the house. It's like split the pie. You're wrestling at Madison Square Garden. We sold $100,000, for example, $100,000 worth of tickets. And these aren't real numbers, but let's say the
Just on that.
building rental was $10,000. Of course, not
Okay.
more. Make it easy. But the building rental was $10,000. The flights, taxes, athletic commission, another $10,000. Vince takes, let's say, whatever percentage, and then you have that pot to disperse amongst the boys. And that's how it was everywhere with every show. You got a piece of whatever was sold, but I think that incentive made people like you wanted to. Every time I worked, I would always ask, what are the numbers?
Right.
What's the gate? What's the advance ticket today? Because, and again, it's like, okay, if we do 50,000 tickets, and then we come back, oh, this time we're up to 60,000 advance tickets. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like you're
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good measuring stick. I mean, look, I'm glad everybody's getting paid. I wish I got that money, but I think at the end of the day, it does sort of, affect some upfront. Not all,
And then
but
the merchandise, you had the action figures, you had, the merch table, percentage of the royalties, the DVD. You had all of this stuff that factored into, like you said, your downside guarantee, but then you cleared $250,000. All that stuff factored in at that time. Now, video game appearances, you got like X amount. I want to say, I'm just throwing a number, like you said, $10,000 for a 2K game here, 10,000 for an action figure here,
but it
something like
makes
that.
you
All added
want
up.
right, but it makes you want to get over because guess what? You won't get an action figure if you're not over.
Right, right.
What we
You're not
talked
like
about,
Cody getting
what
a figure off the shelf every week.
But what we talked about the other day too, about how difficult it is. You can say maximize your minutes, and it's hard when you're being micromanaged. I think in order to replicate some sort of pop in what at least the pop I'm looking for in the business, um, to heat up creatively, it's going to take a bit of a downturn for a year or so before they
Yeah.
allow people to start experimenting and doing stuff that's not necessarily, you know,
So
Basically, the back's going to have to be against the wall for a minute for him to kind of come
and
out.
listen, they have nothing to worry about. Almost too much. So it is what it is. Look, I'm glad everybody's doing good.
so they don't make money off Gates no more. Like,
I don't
they
know
don't
how
go
that works. I'm
yeah, I was wondering if it was like that.
I'm sure some do, but I'm not sure. I have no. I couldn't. It's been a long time, but at least that's
There was
how it
somebody, I'm not going to mention names, mentioned in his podcast back in his day, there was something called pay sheets that,
Yeah.
like, say you were injured, you were off the house show loop, you weren't getting paid. Now, when you wanted to rehab from that injury quickly, so you could get back on. You wanted, hey, put me back on the pay sheets. You know, that way you were getting part of
You're
the
on
house.
the show.
I know who you're talking about, Joey.
Yeah.
You're on the show.
So that was that incentive that you're talking about, that fire that you wanted to be on that show. You wanted booked. You wanted to work every night. You didn't.
Listen, when I remember this vividly, you would get your envelope. Back then it was different because we did television every 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of stuff was still pre-taped. And, you know, you get your envelope and your tickets for the following next 3 weeks. You know what towns you're going to be on and et cetera, where, you know, where you're going to be, how many shows you're going to do. And man, that was like, you'd open it up and you'd want to see yourself on the A town, not the smaller B shows, because that means your pay was high, because you're working, you know, with the John, you know, with John Cena's or the Undertaker headlining, instead of maybe the smaller show in a smaller market where you're not gonna the money's not gonna be as good and it's gonna affect you. So, or you could not be on it at all.
Right.
That happened too many
Right.
times. So I think that incentive created a lot more work.
So the whole
I'm
state
gonna-
more money, more
Good
profit.
conversation. I like where we went with that. That was a very good 27 minutes. That was
Absolutely, and it covered some things that a lot of people don't cover, and which is going to lead me to my next point. When you went to ECW, now you guys did house shows for ECW. A lot of people don't know ECW did house shows as well. They did
Yeah,
smaller ones.
we did. We wrestled Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Now, how did that pay scale operate as compared to WWF? I'm going to say F 2000, 2001, WWF, or even 97. How did that pay scale differ from ECW 98?
Everybody was different. ECW was mainly a per night pay scale, where like guys like Balls Mahoney, for example, they were making $300 a night. You're wrestling 3 nights a week, you're making $900, which isn't bad. I myself, guys like the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, Shane Douglas, Van Dam, we were getting a weekly guarantee no matter how many times you wrestled. So I was getting $2,500 regardless of how many times I could wrestle once. I could wrestle all 3 nights. I was getting $2,500, 10 straight shots. But to me, that was great because it was stable. It was, you know, you could count on it being there, and you know, it was again, it didn't affect. It wasn't enough of a guarantee where it affected my performance because I still wanted to kick ass. It was a great time for the business, and believed in ECW. The company was running on us and on the stories we would do and the angles we would choose. So it was a certain pride. But yeah, it was nice. I loved it. I say it all the time. I would rather be an ECW than WWE. For many reasons, not just creatively, just the whole the setup. It was less stress. And you were really working for something you believed in. It felt like you owned the piece. You had a piece. You know,
was there any writers?
A lot of the you know, I've main evented like probably 10 pay-per-views in total during the ECW run from '97 to 2001, and you know, to me, it's like you're on the top of the card. It's like you're part of the selling point. So
Well, you were one of the top guys of ECW. I mean, you were one of their main, you know, A players. And pardon my intention, pardon the pun, but impact player of ECW. You were, you know, one of the top guys. You're a former world champion there. I mean, you were carrying the company. I mean, for Paul to have that faith in you, you know, that, like you said, that reflected the income right there. That reflected the money. You know, guys like Rob Van Dam, Sandman, Raven, I put in the echelon of ECW top 10. When I think of the ECW acronym, you come up in that, you know, top 5 acronym for me, you know, as guys that I see with like Rhino, you know, even in the later days of the TNN, the infamous hot tub promo with you and Jason, Lance.
Yeah.
God, that was so good. That cracked me up so much.
That was definitely funny. I still laugh at that to this day. But that was good stuff.
But it's like Steve asked, were there any writers in in ECW? Was there a writing team? Was there a writing staff? Was there any of that, or was it just go out there and do your thing? Here's a camera.
That's why it was funner.
Yeah, exactly. It was Paul and it was us. It was literally, there weren't even promos written. It was, you'd take the cameras, you'd be like, you got a promo tonight. Paul had sort of an idea of what he wanted, and we would just go make it happen. Sometimes, a lot of improvisational stuff was happening. So it was definitely pretty cool.
And that's when I think the best stuff comes out, when guys can be themselves and be the talent that they're trying to be, and without restriction.
Yeah. That's how Steve Austin was born, because he was himself in ECW.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Kind of like
100%.
Yeah. That's how I say it. How in the world can someone, now, God forbid, we both know JR, we both think very, very highly and respectfully of JR, but he talked about maximizing his minutes, but being so micromanaged to the point of, this is what you're going to say to the sentence, this is how many minutes you have, this is the moves you're going to do in that minute, this is what facial expressions even you're going to make, as told by Mr. Kennedy, who said, you're not allowed to chew gum to the ring. They told him that. I mean, they micromanaged him so badly. He even said, and this is where it came from to me, as you're the idea, he's like, how am I supposed to maximize my minutes when you have me literally knowing which foot I'm going to put in front of the other as I walk out the curtain? Yeah. How in the world can they expect that? And then point the finger and say, how dare you not get over your put on the B shows when you're not giving guys chances?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's part of the stuff that you just don't understand. You'll never understand.
Dean
Malenko. It never makes sense.
Yeah. No, for real.
You know what I'm talking about. Dean Malenko, the Iceman. I mean, he was one of the best, one of my favorites of all time. You put him in WWE, and you 007. What in the world is going on? And then you literally turn and look at him and blame him because he's not getting over. You didn't let him be who he was. I mean,
he got to make out with Lita, so that's a plus.
I'm not going to down that barrel.
At least he got that.
Yeah,
I'm friends with Matt, so I'm not going down that barrel. Not at all. But then we come back around. ECW folds, because it does what it does. We all know how it turns around. WCW's bought out. ECW's bought out. When do you find out that you're coming back to WWE? When do you find out that you're part of that invasion angle? When are you getting the call?
That invasion angle was way before that. I came back probably like a month or two after ECW closed.
Right.
Yeah. And I think X Factor was before the invasion angle.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that was what I meant. When did you get that to call? Did Sean have anything to do with that?
No, nobody had anything to do with it. I was unemployed. Paul kept telling us he was looking for a television deal. That was not happening. We all knew it wasn't happening. He said he was out in LA trying to secure a new TV deal when in fact he was still in a movie called Rollerball. Back in the day with Cool Trick.
I remember that.
So I reached out to Jim Ross, who was running Talent Relations at the time, and we could have deal right there.
Right there on the spot.
Was it a good deal at the time for you?
Oh yeah, good deal for sure, 100%.
Now, did he give you the pitch? We have big plans for you. We're gonna do this and that. Or
I didn't need anything. I just, Jim Ross was always fair. I trusted JR. He was always good to me, and we exchanged maybe one or two emails. Sent me the paperwork, and they told me where to show up, and it was at the Meadowlands, and I think it was in Long Island actually where I made my debut. So that was it.
And who was it against?
I just did a run-in.
Oh, okay. Who'd you help out?
X-Pac.
Oh, okay. Birth of X Factor.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kind of sort of. Now
But,
that right there, I could have
listen,
seen a tag team out of that.
listen, I gotta get going. I basically, when I made my debut in the WWE was that night at Long Island. And that was
About
it.
that.
Yeah.
And he's back.
Oh,
Dustin
yeah.
Incredible is back in the fold. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of That's Incredible. We got to thank our sponsors, Sin Bodie and his freak show, LJN Creations, for sponsoring this episode. Justin, I know you've got your shameless plugs. Here's your chance. Plug them away.
Yeah, man. Just follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok. All of them at PJ Polaco. YouTube, of course, where we have this and a lot of other Pro Wrestling 101 style videos up on my channel. It's Justin Incredible ECW. Check that out. And ProWrestlingTees.com/Justin Incredible. I have like 20 designs. Go over there and check out Pro Wrestling Tees. That's it.
Absolutely. You guys can follow me at Fox Media. That is on Twitter, that as well as Instagram and YouTube, as well as follow That's Incredible Podcast on YouTube. We are also on Spotify now. In case you didn't know, you can stream us live on Spotify at work, at home, at the gym, wherever. And Steve, your shameless plugs before we roll.
I don't really have any, guys. I guess we'll continue this next week.
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.
Okay, as always. See
Peace.
you all next week, man.
Take care, my man. You have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, recording just ended. I didn't get to say much, but oh well. Is Justin still there?
It's still recording.
No, I ended it.
It is still recording.
I know you want it.
Sorry about that.
Hold on. Let's give it a cut.